Welcome back. Today I'm going to try to solve some chess puzzles on chess.com. It's one of the few categories of chess where I seem to be doing well recently. Also, if I don't do it every so many days, I start to lose the knack for it. So I'm just going to go real quick. If you're new here, I'm not a titled player or a chess coach or any of those other experts like you see in other YouTube channels. I'm just a random person trying to get better at it. So I can't teach you much except what I've just learned or what I'm learning now. Hopefully you'll get something out of this as I talk through my thought processes. I am doing pretty well in puzzles recently. Okay, in this puzzle, I am playing with the white pieces. I'm going to try to use my checklist, which is checks, captures, threats. And then before I make my move, I will check to see what danger I'm in. In this case, I already have seen what danger I'm in. I'm in a lot of danger right now. If I don't do something about my opponent really quick, they're going to checkmate me. They're going to check me there. I'm going to have to move over and they're going to checkmate me right there. So the first thing that I look for is checks. I have several in this position. A couple of them I'm just going to ignore right away. And one of them is this one. Queen to e4 check looks really bad. I don't think that helps at all. They'll just take it with their king. And then again, they're about to checkmate me. This very similar thing is true here. b5 check. I think they just take it. Now that does temporarily relieve the strain here on a2, but then I don't have anything left except 4 pawns. So I don't think those two checks are good. I also have two other bad checks, at least I think are bad. This one's pretty bad. It looks like the rook would just take there. And very similarly on c3, I think the king would just take there. So as I said, I had a lot of checks. I just wanted to get rid of the obviously bad ones first. The two that aren't that bad, or at least don't look that bad, are these two. f3 check and c4 check. Wait, I just saw another one. I just saw queen captures on g6 check. And I saw that because I was just about to say, before I move on to looking at captures, I'm going to evaluate each of those two checks. And then in my mind, my brain went ahead and looked for captures, and one of them was that pawn, and I realized that also is a check. And I think it's the only capture I have in this position, so I might as well evaluate it along with the checks, since it is a check. Okay, well, we have to eliminate two of those, assuming that the answer here is checking, which I'm pretty sure it is. So let's eliminate two of them. I'll start with the first one, which is right here. It's the closest one. And from there, my queen would be cutting off this entire file. They're unable to block or capture my queen, so the king would have to move. And because my queen would be cutting off this diagonal as well, the king would only have two choices to move to the e file. Now, if it moved to e4, I could go back to where I am in check. And then I suppose the king could just move back to e3, where it probably should have gone in the first place. So I think if I check here, I think their king will go to e3. And then it doesn't look like I have any follow-up checks after that. Obviously, if I check here, the pawn will take it. If I check there, that other pawn will take it. If I try to check here, the rook will take it. So yeah, I don't think that c4 is the best one because the king just moves over one, and I don't have a follow-up. Let's evaluate the next one, which is queen to f3. In that case, the queen cuts off all of this, and again, they can't block or capture, so they're going to have to move out. They won't be able to move out there because my pawn's covering that, and my king's covering there. Wait. Oh, and my queen's cutting off all of this. Is that mate? Hold on. Maybe I don't need to evaluate the capture over there on g6. Queen to f3 is checkmate in one, right? They can't block. None of those pieces can move that way. And with my queen here, the king can't get out of check that way or this way because of the pawn and the king. I think that's mate. Wow. Okay. It took me a long time to see that, but I did see it, and that's the important thing. Now, really quick, I'm going to write down the serial number of this puzzle, which is slightly hidden behind my camera view there, just because chess.com has an ongoing glitch that they might have fixed because it didn't happen in the last video I did with puzzles, but it has happened in enough videos that I'm going to write down this number just in case. 1877392. Okay. And that way I can link to the puzzle in the description if the glitch still happens and this isn't in my archive. By the way, the links to all the puzzles that I solve in this video will be in the description because some of you like to go try to solve those puzzles on your own. Okay, let's go to the next one. Again, let's start by looking at checks. I have a few here. I'm going to, again, eliminate immediately the ones that don't look good. Well, sorry, that one's not a check. This one doesn't look good because the queen could just capture it. Free, I'm pretty sure. And then I would have a follow-up, but that's no good. Okay, same thing happens with the check on d6. Why will my arrow not go all the way? Okay, queen to d6, I think their queen just takes. So that's going to be the case with both of those checks, I'm pretty sure. Are those my only checks with the queen? No, I can check here, but I also think that's bad because the pawn would capture me. on b4. I have a history of missing some of the long diagonals and horizontals, but I'm pretty sure there's no square to the left of this one. If there was something before A in the alphabet, then A2 would be a check, but there's not. And of course I can't go here, and there's not a square way off to the right that would take advantage of, wait, I can take advantage of that diagonal right now. Oh my, I almost didn't see that one. But wait, the queen can block in that case. But then I would take the queen, and that would be checkmate. Okay, what else can they do besides block? They can't get out because my rook's cutting off all this, so they would have to move over, and that wouldn't be mate because their queen's guarding that square. So I would have to move the rook down one, and then the king would have to come out here. Wait. I don't have to move the rook down one. Sorry. If I check here and the king moves over, I take the pawn with check. And again, the queen could block, but then that's mate. Once I take the pawn, I think the king has to go back. And when it does, I can come over with the rook. So again, I think I have a mate in 3. It depends on what they do. Just to be sure, they only have 2 legal moves in this position. Since I am not in check, they can either move or block. If they block, I have mate immediately. So I think they'll move. If they move, I take the pawn. And then again, they can block, and that's mate immediately. Or they can go to the left, in which case I would move the rook over to f7, and that's mate. Okay, pretty sure we have a forced mate here. It's possible I'm missing something because I do that a lot, but I think I've covered all my bases. Let's try it. They did move over, and again, the queen is guarding that square, so it can't be that. I don't think it's moving the rook down because they can take it with the queen. I think it has to be taking the pawn. Oh, and it just stopped. Okay. I think it's because it's mate in 1 either way. I just wish that it would complete. They have 2 choices. Surely whoever made this puzzle can choose one of those 2 to let the puzzle solver get the checkmate. Okay, the glitch is back. It was gone in my previous video, but it's back because you saw that in the first puzzle I got +5 up to 2104, but here when I got +5, it's still 2104. So the glitch is back. That means it was a good idea to write down that number because the site is pretending that I didn't solve that first puzzle. And that's pretty frustrating. This puzzle doesn't have a theme, but I can't suggest one because it didn't go all the way to mate. If it did, I could have said mate in 3, but it didn't, so I can't suggest that theme. And there's not a theme listed under the drop-down list for almost checkmate. And why would there be? Next. Oh, these are the ones I like the least. I don't know that I tend to do the most poorly at these, but middle game puzzles are ones that I don't do very well at. Let's see, there are several things going on here, and I should just evaluate them, but I should stick with my checklist. Do I have any checks? I do, but it's that, and I don't think that's the answer. I'm pretty sure. I think that's the only check I have in this position, and the pawn would capture my queen, and I could take back with my knight, but then they would get my rook. So, captures. I have this capture now with my knight. Of course, then their bishop could take the rook, and then what could I do with my knight then? I mean, I could go in here and check, and their knight could take me, and I would take back with the pawn. That's one reason I don't like middle game puzzles, is because there are so many pieces on the board, there are a lot of possibilities. There's also usually several pieces hanging. In this case, my queen is hanging, my knight's hanging, and my knight's pinned. If I move the knight anywhere, my rook gets taken by the bishop. If I don't, I mean, actually, if I move the knight right now, besides taking that bishop's going to take my queen. So, you know, if I take their bishop, I assume that's what they're going to do. Okay, are there any captures other than that and this? I mean, there's the queen capturing the knight, but I don't think that's good either. One thing that would do is get this pawn out of the way of here, but I'm giving up my queen to get the pawn out of the way, and then I move forward, and I think they could just take, and if I tried to take back with my rook back here to check, they can just block with their bishop, and they're fine, and I lost my queen, so that doesn't make any sense. Do I have any other captures? I can capture this pawn, but that doesn't make any sense. It lets the queen in. Actually, if I captured that pawn, I think they would just take my queen. Do I have any threats? The closest I'm coming to a threat is taking that bishop, because if they take back, which I don't think they will, but if they take back, then I'm threatening a check which would win this bishop. However, again, I think once I take there, they're going to come back here and take my rook. But wait, then I would still have the knight, and the knight wouldn't be in the way of this rook anymore. So my knight could check here, which is a fork of their rook and king, and the queen wouldn't take it because my rook's down here protecting it. That looks promising, but are there other possibilities? Again, okay, let's see. Okay, I don't see anything besides that sequence that I just came up with, so I'm going to get my queen out of danger by taking this bishop, and I am threatening this fork. Again, I assume they're going to take my rook, and then I'm going to get a little bit more than them out of this. So I'm going to take that and see what happens. Okay, they did take my rook. Well, now I don't think anything else makes sense other than checking here, now that I've gone this far. Okay, yeah, let's check. Okay, the king moved over. And now it makes sense to take the rook, right? Does anything else make sense? It doesn't make sense to check again. And I can't check again with my queen because my own pawn's in the way. I'm pretty sure it's taking the rook. And then black has the choice of whether to take back my knight or escape with their bishop. If they take back the knight, then I get their bishop. And if they escape with their bishop, then I escape with the knight. Pretty sure. Okay, let's do it. Okay, it stopped there. Oh, and I got 6 points for that one. Maybe because it was rated so high. That one's rated 2256. I'm a little relieved that I found that, but I doubted myself, and I do that a lot in those exact situations in actual games, and sometimes I pick the wrong thing. Sometimes I say, oh, if I move that knight, then my rook's going to be in danger, so instead I'll just get my queen out of danger, and then something else bad happens, and I lose a bunch of pieces. So it says I'm unstoppable, and that's not true, but lately in puzzles, I have been on a little bit of a streak, so let's keep our fingers crossed and we'll do at least one more, maybe two at this rate. I would like to be able to solve more than 4 puzzles in a video, which has been the case for my last several. Okay, I'm playing with the black pieces. I do have a safe check here. That one is not safe, right? Because of their rook. But this one's safe, but all that does is force the king to move over. So I don't know how good that is. It does, I think, win me a pawn afterward. Am I down on? I am down on pawns. I only have 5 pawns. My opponent has 7. We've traded off all our minor pieces and 1 rook, but I lost a couple of pawns along the way. In a game, that's probably what I would play, to be honest, is once the king moves over, I would take this pawn. That would leave my queen protecting my c pawn, and my rook is currently protecting my a pawn. And then, but I wouldn't be threatening anything there. I just would have removed 1 pawn. They're protecting the other pawns. If the king just moves up, sorry, I know one thing that I'm bad at, and one reason it takes me so long to solve some of these puzzles is that it's hard for me to visualize where the pieces will be once I put them there, even with drawing the arrows. So I'm trying to imagine my queen sitting down there on e2, and their king being up here on g2, and then trying to think, like, what could I have next? I can't take this pawn. It's protected. I don't think I have any captures other than that pawn. I suppose I could move my rook over and threaten that pawn, but then they could just move their rook over to protect it. And then once their rook's off that diagonal, they could always move it. So that threat is kind of weak. I don't have any captures other than that pawn. And again, that's not good. So I've run through my list, my entire checklist. Checks, captures, threats, and none of them look good. I have also automatically, without really thinking about it, looked to see how much danger I am in, and I don't think I'm in that much danger right now of being checkmated. Again, this pawn is protected, that pawn's protected, their queen's not going to do some serious damage right now. So I'm definitely missing something. Again, I'm going to pause the video. If I find it, I will tell you what I thought of, and if I don't, I'll move something and it'll be wrong. While I was reevaluating each of those moves, I realized one thing I didn't really go through on my checklist was threats. And maybe that's just because I didn't see any. So I need to recheck for threats. And can I threaten anything? Since, again, I don't think this check works. I don't think my only capture on the board doesn't do anything. If my queen were, on a different square, I think that would be mate, wouldn't it? And sorry, it might, again, like most people, my brain does a few steps in between the words that I'm saying. So I think I thought of that because for just a second, I thought I saw this weird diagonal here, but that's not an actual possible move. So then I thought, if my queen had started off the puzzle on one of these squares on this diagonal, wouldn't going there to a h1 be checkmate? Because with my queen out of the way, my rook would be cutting this off, and from the corner, my queen would be cutting off these 2 squares. So, is there a way to get my queen on that diagonal without jeopardizing everything else? I mean, I could just move it over, but then my opponent gets a turn, and I don't know what they would do with their turn. Maybe they would bring the rook over here, to threaten my rook. But wait, they wouldn't do that because then I would have mate. Wait, maybe that's it. Maybe it's queen to d5. And again, my threat is to go down. No. Okay. If I went here and if my opponent, which in this case is a bot, if they thought for a second, why did he move to d5? What is he aiming at? And they said, oh, wait, that's checkmate. How could they stop that? I think they could just move their king over. Okay. And I don't want to go there because of the pawn. But again, I would like to have access to pointing at h1. I kept trying to say a1, but that's because I'm playing with the black pieces. So a is on my right side and h is on my left side. Just as I get used to this h through a order with the black pieces, then they'll switch to the white, and then I'll be confused that A is on the left. But anyway, H is on the left. So anyway, I think no matter how, even if my queen could move like a knight and I could safely get to that diagonal somehow, I think the king solves this problem by just moving over one to G1. Okay, so maybe that's not viable then, because I found a way out for them that I can't do anything about. And I can't keep them from getting to G1. And if I check first, they could go to G1 anyway, or they could go here, in which case, then I don't have access to the safe checking squares on that diagonal. But wait, the first line that I drew, what if I drew an actual diagonal in that direction? It goes to H2, which keeps their king from coming to G1. It's not a check, so it's not that forcing, but it is threatening the mate. What can they do? Wait, can they do anything about that? What if I just put my queen on H2? The king still can't go to the e-file because my rook's there, and because of that awesome c-pawn, thank you, pawn on c5, their queen can't take my rook. Even though my rook would be undefended at that point, their queen could take that pawn, threatening the rook. But then I would have mate on h1, I think. Wait, what can they do? They can't come out because of my rook. If they move their rook over, that just takes away one of the squares that they can't come out to, and I have mate. And they can't come out this way because my queen's covering both of those. They move a pawn. Oh, they could move, okay. They might move the f pawn, because then when I check, their king can come this way. And then I would take their rook. Is that what it is? Okay, I'm just going to guess that's what it is. I'm going to put the queen on h2 because I don't see anything else. It might be wrong, but that's what I'm going with. And I'm guessing that they're going to move the f pawn. It's the only thing I can find that gets them out of this check. I mean, this threat. What? Okay, that took longer than I had hoped. I've gone over my 30 minutes, but I'm a little frustrated that it didn't go further because I don't know what would have happened. I'm also a little frustrated that the glitch is back and it did not give me the points for the first puzzle. So I got a total of 17 points for 4 puzzles, and I should have had 22 points because I got 6 for the last 2 for some reason. I don't know why. It took me long enough. I should have only got 5. Wait, this one says the target time is 16 seconds. Speaking of how long it took me to solve this puzzle, I was supposed to have seen queen to h2 in 16 seconds? Who in the world? Okay, just to clear my head a little bit, I'm going to click the analysis board button and hopefully it'll still fit on the screen. Yeah, it moves it a little bit, just like the other site, except on Lichess, when you click to the analysis board, it moves the whole board to the left, so part of that left file is cut off. On this one, it moves it down a little bit, so part of the back rank is cut off, including parts of those letters. That's just bad site design. Keep the board in the exact same spot, please. Or is that just me being... Yeah, that's probably just me being OCD or whatever. Wait, that's not how the puzzle started. Okay, the puzzle started with them moving. All right. And according to Stockfish 16, light. Is that like light beer? It has fewer calories? Does light beer have fewer calories? I don't know. I'm not an expert on beer, just like I'm not an expert on chess. I don't know what Stockfish 16 light means. I keep seeing it there over the last couple of weeks. I assume it means it's weaker, which, if that's the case, I wouldn't advertise it there. Just say, oh, we're using a weaker version of Stockfish. So you don't get all the benefits, even though you're paying for the full... I meant to not renew it earlier this year, but it renewed before I got any notifications. I thought, when they notify me it's about to renew, I'll drop down to the whatever the lowest paid membership is, just so I can have unlimited puzzles. But they didn't notify me it was about to auto-renew, and it just auto-renewed, so I still have the diamond. But anyway, with diamond, I ought to have #1 top-level Stockfish, right? Not Stockfish light, like skim milk. It's okay if you drink skim milk. If that's what you prefer, it's less milk than other milk. So this is less Stockfish than Stockfish. Yeah, Stockfish says I have a great advantage if I play here. Well, I'm glad I found it, but then what are they going to play? It says the move that delays mate the longest is f4. Well, that's a pretty big difference between mate and 9 and mate and 5. So I'm wondering why they didn't play this. Or the other one for that matter, because there's two different responses that I would have to do. If they played f4, it says I would take it. And if they played f3, it said my best move would be rook to e2. And then they would check me. And I'd have to get out of check here. And then they would check me with this pawn. I assume I would have to take it or move up one. That would get really complicated. But yeah, so why didn't it just keep going? Oh, because I have two moves that are still mate in 9. That's why it didn't keep going, because the puzzle would have failed here. I could have taken this pawn with check or this pawn. Well, if it had kept going, I would have failed the puzzle because I was going to go there and check. And when the king got out of check, I was going to take their rook. Yeah, so I would have failed the puzzle if it had kept going. So think about that, chess.com. You could have embarrassed me here on this video if you had just made the puzzle go beyond one move. Okay, what if they'd played f3? Okay, here I have one move that's slightly better than the others, and it's rook to e2, but also this is fine. Still mate in 7. That's still mate in 7. But rook to e2 would be best. If I played rook to e2, they would capture here with check. My best move by far is to go out to the h-file, h6. Their move that delays mate the longest would be to check me. It would not be in my best interest to take it. I think that's because if I took it, they could check me again. If I just move up, then they can check me here. So I have to take that with my pawn, the only move. Okay. But there wasn't an only move up here earlier, so that I understand why the puzzle didn't keep going. But here it's an only move. And now they just have to give up their queen, and I take it, and then it doesn't matter what they do. This is mate. So they play that, and that's mate. Okay. Okay, I understand why the puzzle didn't keep going, because I would have had multiple options if they had played their best move. I could have taken that with check or taken the pawn. Okay. But I do hope you got something out of this session if you made it this far. And as always, I thank you for spending your time here. We'll see you next time.